Well, this is turn 2, fully stocked by the Party Pantry in Council Bluffs, located just off the beaten path at 35th and 5th Avenue. It's time to find a gas station that won't break the bank with great prices on food, fuel, beer, and so much more. The Party Pantry is where you go to save some green. It's where you also go to get full-service gas station. It's one of the only, I'm not going to say the only because I don't know for sure, but it's the only one I know of that's in Council Bluffs full service. Pull up there Monday through Friday, and you're going to get your car, your tank fully pumped by a, what do you call them now? I don't even know the name for
full service attendants, but Tuesdays, attendants. There you go. Tanker Tuesdays, you got the Hooters girls pumping your gas for you. Double D's, high octane, like I always say, week in and week out, you just can't go wrong.
And then they're doing a special thing now where they're raising money for charities, having the Hooters girls come down and do car washes.
Yep. We just missed this last weekend, but they do have one, maybe two more coming up in the future, and we'll keep everybody up to date as to when that's going to happen because, man, that's some scenery right there. Keep
the Front Stretch page, Facebook page handy. We'll post when we know that one of those is going on so you can head down there and take care of one of our fine sponsors. Well, this is the Fast Five, and it's the 5 stories that are dominating the NASCAR world. And, if only you would hear in between the edits what goes on at this radio show. So the Fast Five is right now. Buddy, why don't you read number 5?
Ambrose returns to Sonoma in search of $1 million. The Australian native is heading to Sonoma today in hopes of not only winning his second career Cup race, but scoring a cool $1 million. If Ambrose does get the checkered flag, his team will donate $1 million to the Children's Miracle Network hospitals in conjunction with the Ace Hardware Foundation and the Racing for a Miracle initiative. This is great to see these guys doing this. And, we don't know a whole lot about the Aussie up here in the States, but the one thing I do want to ask Brody here, being in studio with us, is Marcus known for doing stuff like this even in Australia down there?
Yeah, well, a lot of the drivers, they always like to help out whatever charities they can, and it's good that professional people have the time to put in to support those charities. I know a lot of other race car drivers in Australia, they ride bikes long distances, do fun runs, all that sort of thing, raising a lot of money for sick little children and that sort of thing. And it's the best feeling as a race car driver. I know myself as a race car driver, when kids come into the pits at the end of the night, that's what you do it for the fans and that sort of thing. And this is a chance for drivers to give back to them, to raise some money for them and help out those little kids that don't have the opportunity to do fun things like us race car drivers and teams get to do.
I couldn't have said it any better. That's a class act right there.
And you probably couldn't have pronounced it any better because that was great to listen to.
Oh, I'm telling you.
I love the Aussie accent.
You come back and you bring Nicole Kidman with you?
Oh, boy. There he goes. Joe Gibbs Racing set to keep Joey Logano in that 20 car. There's been a lot of speculation over the last couple of weeks.
That's shocking.
Yeah, there's been a lot of speculation over the last couple of weeks that Joe Gibbs Racing may be replacing Joey Logano in that Home Depot number 20. But on Sunday, during the rain delay, Joe Gibbs himself said that we are looking to re-sign Joey to a new deal. We'd like to keep the 22-year-old in the number 20 car because he is on the direction we want him to go. Joe Gibbs said we've got a lot invested in him. He's our guy, and we plan on him going forward. Right now, he is in the 20 car, and that's interesting. He says right now. It's going to be interesting as the coming weeks go. If he can maintain a top 10, top 15 finish, I think he's safe in that 20 car. If he misses the chase, they're going to be in a bit of a predicament because you don't want to let a talent like that go. Because, look what he's doing down in the Nationwide Series. He's winning 5, 6, 7 races a season for those guys. He's obviously got the talent level. It's just something's not jiving right with him up in the Cup level.
And like you said, when right now he's going to stay in the car, but it's that right now pause. So that almost makes me feel like they're saying, okay, you know what, just for whatever reason, we're just going to tell people, he's going to stay with us. But I think that if he's finishing 25th or worse in these upcoming races and he doesn't make the chase, I think there's a real possibility he's not going to be back in that 20 car. They're just kind of putting on a charade right now.
And there is
a smoke screen.
Yeah, there is a lot of good talent out there that's going to be looking for a ride during the silly season. So
the gas man
Jack Dover could be looking to coming up into the Nationwide Series. So
or I could see somebody like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. getting into it too.
He's a talented guy. Jack Roush has got him locked up pretty tight, though.
Yeah.
But Trevor Bayne, not someone that's locked up with Roush Fenway Racing, so that could definitely be an option for Joe Gibbs Racing to put somebody in that 20 car. Andrew, let's stick with Joe Gibbs Racing, and let's talk about that 18 engine.
Third week in a row, the 18 car and team is left loading up the car in the hauler early. All the engines are built at TDR in California and then shipped to Joe Gibbs Racing, which handles the final tuning and race weekend management. Kyle Busch problems haven't been the same issue each week, but that they can even more exasperating for the team as it tries to fix multiple issues. Kyle Busch has made it clear on his Twitter page this week that the engines are not at fault for Joe Gibbs Racing, but rather Toyota Racing Development.
Right, and that's something that's new, that Joe Gibbs Racing used to do all their engines, but since starting this year, they've transferred over to TDR.
Well, I think when Toyota first got into the sport, they were doing their own engines as well, and they were having problems with them right away, and everybody said, get Toyota out of the sport. We can't keep running. They kept having problems, and now it seems like they're doing something again where they're going to have a recall, or Joe Gibbs is going to have to start building his engines again.
It's just and it's like we talked about with you, Jack, earlier. This has got to be a parts failure. Something is going wrong in that engine that's a common denominator, because of all the engines that TDR has on the track each and every weekend, between Michael Dwalchup Racing, Joe Gibbs Racing, and off the top of my head, I can't think of the other organizations that run Toyotas, but it's just the 18 that keeps having these issues. And so you got to wonder. I mean, it's such a coincidence that all three engines have happened with the 18 car.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, like, since say Kyle Busch, he's a better driver out of all the other people in the Toyota cars. It makes you wonder if, like, Toyota's building the engines and trying stuff and then wanting feedback from Kyle, because I've seen that happen before. Doing
some testing kind of stuff?
Yeah, and if they're trying new stuff, they want to get the feedback from a pretty good driver.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if they're doing that.
Well, by the way, he threw them under the bus on Twitter. I'm not entirely sure. He threw them under the bus, and then he went ahead and motioned for the bus to back right back up again. Just go ahead and hit him one more time. Buddy, what's number 3?
Number 3, Fox looking for early extension for NASCAR broadcasting rights. Fox announced this week that they are looking to enter negotiations rights with NASCAR to extend their current contract. Right now, Fox has broadcasting rights through 2013. Opening talks this early would allow Fox to negotiate a price without having to bid for on the open market with NBC Sports, who is rumored to be interested in picking up broadcast rights for 2014. There are also reports that Fox plans on shifting its direction for the Speed Channel. You know, right before we went to air, you gave me the sheet, and I was reading through it, and it's kind of a mess to follow, really, because they've got their options are so varied. But it sounds like what you and I were talking, how they want to take Speed more into a ESPN-style format where it's all sports encompassed. Me personally, that's what ESPN is. You have ESPN 1, ESPN 2.
ESPN 3, ESPN 4, ESPN alternate 2, ESPN alternate number 3. It's unheard.
Yeah, so let's leave that alone. When I think of Speed Channel, I'm thinking I'm going to watch The World of Outlaws, with Jack Dover. I think I'm going to watch The Prelude to the Dream with Don O'Neill or Andrew Kaczynski racing. When I'm thinking Speed Channel, I'm thinking stock car races. I'm thinking rock crawlers. I'm not thinking gymnastics or bowling or something like that. I mean,
riveting TV, by the way.
Yeah,
riveting
absolutely.
Stuff. Well, the hopes is that if they do switch the Speed Channel to more of a all-encompassing, obviously they're going to change the name, and then they want to kind of open up a partnership between NASCAR and Fox to create another type of speed network, which would be more of something like the NFL or the MLB or the NBA network, which NASCAR would have more control over, and we'd be able to get more exposure to that kind of thing.
I think if NASCAR was to have its own channel, per se, through one of the broadcasters, I can only imagine what NASCAR would do. I mean, when you watch a NASCAR race now, like this last weekend, you were telling me, go to NASCAR.com and look up, this track pass and all this good stuff. Can you imagine seeing all that and then some more in-depth stuff on a NASCAR channel? And that would be riveting.
You got to wonder if during the off season for like NFL, NBA, and during the regular season, is there enough content to fill up an entire TV station? I think for racing, there definitely is. I mean, just because it's NASCAR owned doesn't mean we can't play races for Jack in the World of Outlaws when he steps up there. All the different racing that goes on every single weekend, you've got 7 days a week that you could replay those races.
I've watched some of these Major League football and baseball team channels, and the one thing I've always noticed, obviously they're showing the game, but outside the game, you're not seeing a lot of riveting content. Mm-hmm. When you have a NASCAR channel, maybe the crew could show some, a day in the life of Jack Dover working at the shop, or they're taking Tony Stewart. Well, now you're bringing your fan base into their life, and that's how, as fans, we connect with our favorite drivers. You're not seeing that with A-Rod and these other guys in these other sports.
It'll be very interesting to see where this heads, and I hope for Fox's sake, I do enjoy their coverage. As goofy as Darrell Waltrip is, he adds a bit of humor to NASCAR, and I do get a little bit excited when he reach up there and pull them belts tight one more time and boogity, 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 let's go racing. I mean, he doesn't help the image of racing much with his redneck ways.
How many times did you practice that in the mirror? Boogity, boogity, boogity. I can't even say it. You got Darrell Waltrip underwear.
I do. DW is a good race car driver. NASCAR's set to continue to kind of tweak their rules, their sway bar and skirt sizes. Don't worry, buddy. It's side skirt, not women's skirts. They're not going to be adjusting the height of the skirts on that one. NASCAR announced that earlier this week through a technical bulletin to all teams that they're going to be outlining a few rule changes. It's set to take effect by June 30th, which is the Kentucky race. What they're going to do is modify the skirt. They're going to bring it up a little bit on the left side and down a little bit on the right side. And this is to kind of help with some of the side drafting and helping with making the cars actually a little bit more loose. I think what they realize, and I hate to do this because I know it's going to open the floodgates, but Bud, you had mentioned it earlier in the year that you thought some of the rule changes NASCAR had implemented had taken the driving out of the driver's hand and made everything vanilla. I think this is them backing up a little bit. They've also adjusted the sway bar, and basically this is going to be one of those rules that Chad Knaus is just going to have a heyday over. When you look underneath the car, when it's at riding height, you can't see the sway bar anymore. It has to stay at a certain height so that it's not visible. Those are the two rule changes, and they're hoping that that's going to put a little bit more driving skill back into the drivers. So frankly, we're going to see a lot. I think we're going to see more spinning out of some of these less experienced drivers. They're just going to get loose and spin, kind of like Kurt Busch did about 4 times on Sunday. That is your Fast
Five. Had to throw that in
there. That's your Fast Five on Turn 2, fully stocked by the Party Pantry in Council Bluffs, located just off the beaten path at 35th and 5th Avenue. Great prices on food, fuel, and a large selection of booze in their hooch room. Get to the Party Pantry today, 35th and 5th Avenue in Council Bluffs, just off the beaten path. It's a gas station you go to save a little green. Just around the corner, we're going to sit down with the gas man himself. Jack Dover's going to join us in studio. You've heard him chime in on a couple of them. We've got some great questions lined up for him, and I think you're not going to want to miss this. This is the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs on AM 590 Omaha's ESPN Radio.